The city of Jericho was alive with noise and movement, its streets filled with travelers, merchants, and Roman soldiers. It was a place of wealth and trade, a crossing point for many. Yet within its walls lived a man who had everything money could buy, but nothing that truly mattered. His name was Zacchaeus. He was the chief tax collector, and he carried that title with authority. Rome empowered him to gather heavy taxes from his own people, and he had used that power to grow rich, very rich. His house was fine, his clothes were elegant, his table always full, but his reputation was bitterly sour. Every coin he earned was a reminder to the people that he was a betrayer, a man who stole from his neighbors to feed his greed. When his name was spoken, it was often followed by curses whispered under breath. Mothers pulled their children away when he passed. Men glared but dared not confront him. He was powerful, yes, but he was hated. And deep within him, beyond the layers of wealth and arrogance, was an emptiness. He heard whispers of a teacher from Galilee, one who healed the blind, welcomed sinners, and spoke words that stirred the soul. And when word came that this Jesus was passing through Jericho, something stirred in Zacchaeus, a longing he could not explain. That morning the streets were overflowing, the crowd pressing shoulder to shoulder, everyone desperate for a glimpse of the man they called Rabbi. Zacchaeus joined the mass, but he quickly realized his disadvantage. He was short, unable to see over the waves of bodies before him. No matter how he pushed or craned his neck, the faces and backs of the crowd blocked his view. But he was determined. His pride, his status, his wealth, none of it mattered in that moment. What mattered was seeing Jesus. So he did something that shocked even himself. He ran. Wealthy men in fine robes did not run through the streets, but Zacchaeus didn't care. His sandals slapped against the dust as he hurried ahead of the crowd. There, standing tall by the roadside, was a sycamore tree, its branches stretching outward and upward. Without hesitation, he climbed, gripping the bark, pulling himself higher until he found a perch where he could see clearly. Perched in that tree, hidden among the leaves, he waited. And then it happened. The crowd drew near, the noise swelled, and at the center walked Jesus. His presence was calm but commanding, his steps unhurried, his eyes seeing more than the moment. Zacchaeus watched in awe, his heart racing. But then something astonishing occurred. Jesus stopped at the very place where Zacchaeus sat. He looked up, eyes locking on the man in the branches. And with a voice both gentle and firm, he called him by name. Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. The words struck like thunder. Zacchaeus froze, his heart pounding. Out of the countless faces in that crowd, Jesus had not only seen him, but spoken his name. His name, the name most used with contempt, now spoken with kindness and authority. He scrambled down the tree, nearly tripping over his robe in haste, his face lit with a joy he had never known. The crowd was stunned. Murmurs rippled through them like a rising tide. He's going to the house of a sinner, they whispered in outrage. To them, Zacchaeus was the last man worthy of the holy rabbi's attention. But Jesus didn't hesitate. He walked with Zacchaeus, entering his home, sitting at his table. And there, in the presence of the Savior, something inside Zacchaeus broke and rebuilt all at once. He looked at his possessions, his piles of wealth, and realized they had never satisfied him, not once. He turned to Jesus and declared before all, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor. And if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." His voice shook with conviction, his words flowing not from duty, but from a heart transformed. The man who once lived to take was now eager to give. The one despised as greedy now overflowed with generosity. Grace had entered his life, and it changed him in a single encounter. Jesus looked at Zacchaeus with a smile that seemed to hold the weight of heaven itself. "Today salvation has come to this house," he said, his voice filling the room with hope. "Because this man, too, is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost." And with those words, the crowd's protests were silenced. The same man they had scorned as a traitor was now called a son, a brother, a redeemed child of God. Outside, the streets of Jericho buzzed with confusion and awe, but inside, Zacchaeus felt a peace deeper than any he had ever known. The chains of greed had fallen away, and in their place was freedom. His story would forever stand as a reminder that no one is too far, no soul too stained, no past too corrupt for the grace of Christ. Zacchaeus began that day as a wealthy, despised man who climbed a tree out of curiosity. But he ended it as a transformed man who had found salvation, not because of his wealth, not because of his position, but because Jesus saw him, called him by name, and chose to enter his life. And that is the power of grace. It finds us where we are, but never leaves us the same.